In the beginning, there is the blonde dust of the Idaho plains, the wind skimming the furrows, the distant cry of a freight train. We are in Nampa on May 3rd, 1928. In a small wooden house, a child opens his eyes to a world that is vast, hard, merciless. He is named Edwin Paul Wilson. Nothing, then, suggests that this farmer's child, this son of an America of sweat and soil, will one day handle the shadows of empires. His childhood unfolds to the rhythm of the seasons. The earth commands. The sun burns the nape of the neck. The rain lashes the metal roofing. The cold cuts the skin. He learns early that nothing is given, that everything must be earned. In the fields, his hands grow chapped. In the barn, he listens to the adults speaking in low voices about the price of wheat, deaths, the great crash that broke men stronger than his father. He watches. He keeps quiet. Already, his gaze probes farther than the fence-lined horizon. One day, the family leaves. They quit Idaho for the state of Washington. A long road, meager suitcases, a truck loaded with hopes heavier than the furniture. Around them, America changes its face. The cities stretch out, the factories smoke, the newspapers shout the news of a war that sets the world ablaze. Edwin grows up on the edge of this turmoil, son of modest farmers, but also son of a country entering the century of giants. At the end of the Second World War, the guns fall silent, but the oceans still murmur. The young Edwin, barely out of adolescence, turns his gaze toward the liquid horizon. He enlists in the American Merchant Marine. There he is on the deck of cargo ships in the late 1940s, between sky and abyss, carried by the swell and the metallic crash of the hulls. The sea teaches him another kind of law. Night watches under a moonless sky, the smell of fuel, rust, the salt encrusted in clothes. Foreign ports open like abysses of light and noise. European docks broken by war. Eastern keys saturated with spices. Unknown tongues, weighted glances. Edwin learns the routes, the distances, the ports of call. He discovers at every stop that the world is already being negotiated in back corners, in warehouses, in smoke-filled cafes where men in suits speak in low voices. He retains the faces, the gestures. He keeps everything to himself. But the ocean is only a prelude. Post-war America is projecting itself into the future. Edwin comes back to shore. He feels that he needs another tool than his calloused hands and his sailor's memory. He chooses the University of Portland in Oregon. Early 1950s, the campuses buzz with youth, with projects, with a new faith in technology, the economy, power. He gets his degree, his bachelor's, thin paper but key to another world. Between the corridors of the university and the bars where veterans replay lost battles, another invisible front is already opening: the Cold War. The Soviet Union, the United States, two colossi standing face to face. The battlefield is no longer just a beach or a sky, it is the entire planet. The United States is then forging a new, silent, amphibious instrument, the Central Intelligence Agency. In 1955, Edwin's path crosses this blade of shadow. He is recruited. The files, later, will describe it in one dry sentence. Entered the CIA in 1955. But behind those few words, there is the interview in a bare room, the look of a recruiter who sizes him up, the implicit promise of a destiny sheltered from view. Little is presented to him, much is asked of him. Loyalty, discretion, endurance. He accepts. For him, the CIA is not a simple employer. It is an order. He joins the Plans Division, that Directorate of Plans which will soon be called the Directorate of Operations. There the invisible war takes shape. Plots, covert actions, infiltrations, secret backing. Flags are no longer planted. Rumors are sown. Money is funneled. Weapons are supplied. Instability is manufactured. The maps of the world are the pages of a book of clandestine operations. Edwin becomes an operations officer. His life is erased beneath layers of covers, legends, fake business cards. He goes on foreign postings. First Europe, still scarred by the war, split by an iron curtain. He crosses hastily rebuilt cities, where ruins already stand next to bright shop windows. He meets agents, informants, men who betray for money, for an idea, for an old hatred. He shakes hands in cafes whose names no one remembers, but where regime changes are sometimes decided. Then comes the Middle East. Over there, the sun strikes like a white hammer. The smell of gasoline replaces that of wheat. Oil becomes black blood, wealth and curse all at once. It is another frontier of the Cold War. The great powers vie for palaces, barracks, oil fields. Edwin moves through this labyrinth of fragile loyalties, tribes, ambitious military men, worried monarchs. The files will later describe it soberly: deployments in Europe and the Middle East. But behind these words hide sleepless nights, suitcases of cash, coded messages, hasty departures before dawn. Gradually, Edwin specializes. He is not a man of speeches or words. He is a man of things. Logistics networks, material support, paramilitary operations become his domain. He knows where a weapon comes from, across which continents a crate travels, which airline turns a blind eye, which port looks the other way. He becomes the architect of hidden flows, equipment, explosives, resources for those whom Washington decides to support in the shadows. The years pass. The CIA claws at the world, and in its claws, Edwin is one of the firmest tendons. But no alliance, no loyalty is eternal in the empire of shadows. In 1971, official lines break. In federal judgments, the phrase falls, neutral, resignation from the CIA. But this departure is not that of a simple employee returning his badge. It is the metamorphosis of a man who carries within him too many secrets to become an ordinary citizen again. That same year, the current carries him toward another shore of the same river. The Naval Intelligence Command, the U.S. Navy's intelligence service, draws him in as a contractor, as a consultant. No longer fully inside, not really outside, in between. He advises, he guides, he connects. The link with the machinery of the state is not broken. It is transformed. What was once a hierarchy becomes a tangle of contracts, informal relationships, ad hoc missions. The bureaucratic uniform disappears, but the networks remain. Then comes the decisive leap, the private sector. Edwin formally leaves public service. He enters that murky realm where defense, international logistics, and the arms trade mingle in the harsh light of balance sheets and the half-light of verbal agreements. He creates, takes control of companies. Their names will later surface in indictments, Consultants International, and other entities shrouded in neutral acronyms. Officially, they sell services, equipment, security. Unofficially, they become ships without a clear flag, able to transport what governments can no longer carry in the open. The 1970s open onto a new age of secrecy. The CIA, the Pentagon, the intelligence agencies seek intermediaries who do not wear a uniform, but who still obey the tacit expectations of raison d'etat. In this void between the public and the clandestine, Edwin settles in with the instinct of an animal that already knows the forest. Contractors multiply. Former officers, experts, mercenaries of organization. He, with his companies, becomes a pivot. This is where Task Force 157 comes in. A clandestine unit of the U.S. Navy, a dark niche within the Office of Naval Intelligence. Its mission, to collect maritime intelligence, watch over shipping lanes, but also carry out secret operations where official flags must not appear. Task Force 157 operates in the cracks of law and signed orders. In congressional investigations, much later, its name appears like a discreet shadow behind several sensitive operations. Edwin collaborates with it, no longer as an agent subject to an organizational chart, but as a supplier, an interface, a go-between. His companies serve as cover, as a vehicle for contracts. He knows how to build a legal facade to shelter an operation that has no right to exist. He becomes that shifting hyphen between the world of intelligence and the private sector. A handshake, an invoice, a security contract, and beneath these official papers runs another reality: delivery of equipment, discrete missions, contact with sources. Around him, the faces are familiar. Former CIA officers, Pentagon officials, people still serving in intelligence agencies. They meet in anonymous restaurants in Washington, in hotel rooms in Geneva, in clubs in London. They speak the same coded language, allude to operations in half hints. These ties, later, witnesses will recall them before the courts. But for now, they feed a powerful feeling in Edwin, that he has never really left the secret family. Across the Atlantic, another force is rising. In 1969, in Libya, a young officer named Muammar Gaddafi overthrows the monarchy. The desert becomes the stage for an upheaval. Gaddafi seizes power, wrapped in a discourse of revolution, Arab nationalism, and rejection of Western powers. Oil companies are constrained, foreign bases challenged. Tripoli is no longer a quiet port. It is an ideological fortress. Over the course of the 1970s, relations between the United States and this new Libya deteriorate. In Washington, files pile up. Aggressive Libyan oil policy, threats to Western interests, Tripoli's alleged support for groups considered terrorist. Analyses grow darker. They monitor, record, compile. The enemy is not yet a monolithic bloc, but it is becoming a magnet for antagonisms. In response, the United States tightens the screws. Restrictions are put in place on the sale of arms and military equipment to Libya. Export control laws, the international traffic in arms regulations, erect legal barriers. Exporting weapons to Tripoli becomes an act fraught with consequences. On paper, America draws a clear line. What could be negotiated yesterday becomes forbidden today. But in the heart of the desert, Gaddafi's regime is hungry. Hungry for Western military technology. Hungry for know-how. He wants modern explosives, trained commandos, bodyguards schooled in the most advanced methods. He seeks men capable of opening the technical vaults of the West for him, while bypassing its official gatekeepers. This is where Edwin's path begins to cross that of Libya. In the mid-1970s, he sets out for Tripoli. The indictments, later, will place a clear marker. From 1976 on, his trips to Libya are documented. But behind these accounting dates lies the landing in a scorching hot airport, Gaddafi's portraits hung everywhere, roadblocks manned by nervous soldiers, the heavy stares of Libyan intelligence agents. Edwin does not arrive as a tourist. He comes as a man with solutions. He meets Libyan officials, among them, figures from the regime's intelligence services. Around low tables, in lounges where the air smells of strong tobacco and overworked air conditioning, he lays out what he can offer: training, security, equipment. His tone is calm, his arguments precise. He speaks of protecting oil installations, training bodyguards, supplying various equipment. He speaks as a businessman. In his shadow, however, one can still discern the figure of the professional in clandestine operations. His private companies become the vessels of this new venture. They negotiate contracts. Papers are signed, seals stamped. Officially, it is about security, about consulting. In reality, these contracts open the doors to more dangerous flows. To fulfill the missions, Edwin begins to build a network of seasoned men, hardened by war. Former U.S. military, former Green Berets, ex-members of special forces. Some of their names will appear, much later, in court records, listed like so many stones in a fragile rampart. They come to see him, sometimes wary, often drawn by the salaries and the return of adrenaline. He talks to them about training, about security, about sensitive missions in a rich country ready to pay. They accept. They do not yet know that their testimonies, years later, will resonate in courtrooms, describing the training, the explosives, the methods taught. For now, they are men about to depart, tickets in hand, heading to Tripoli. Meanwhile, in Washington, another story is being written in parallel. In the public documents of the time, there is no official mandate authorizing Edwin to act on behalf of the CIA or any other federal agency in Libya after 1971. On paper, he is a civilian, a former operative, detached, with no organic link. But reality, as often in intelligence matters, is not so clear-cut. Because Edwin has not cut all the threads. He remains in contact with certain individuals still serving in the intelligence community. Correspondence, exchanges, conversations. Snatches of sentences that suggest he is consulted, that he is listened to, that he is sometimes asked to keep an eye out, to pass information back. Later, these traces will appear in memos, in testimonies, like fragments of a truth refusing to be locked into a simple formula. In his business dealings, Edwin maintains ambiguity. He sometimes presents himself as still connected, in one way or another, to the CIA. He hints that he acts, if not on orders, at least in tacit alignment with the interests of the United States. For his foreign interlocutors, this aura is an asset. Doing business with him means, or so it is believed, talking with an unofficial extension of Washington. For his American interlocutors, this vagueness is a weapon. It reminds them that he knows, that he has served, that he could serve again. This ambiguity is not a minor detail. It is a knot. It will later become the incandescent core of judicial debates, the question that splits this man's image in two: former agent turned trafficker for his own profit, or half-disowned instrument of a state apparatus that uses him without acknowledging him. At this moment in the story, Edwin Paul Wilson seems to float between two worlds. Behind him, the furrows of Nampa, the sea, the university, the CIA, the covert operations, Task Force 157. Ahead of him, the palaces of Tripoli, the security contracts, the former soldiers he sends into the desert, the shipments that begin to move in silence. He is still perceived as a bold businessman, a skilled ex-agent operating on the limits of what is permitted. But already, in the corridors of the American administrations, a few worried glances are turning toward him. Because everything he is setting up, this entire network of companies, armed men, Libyan contacts, all of it is moving toward a breaking point. In the years to come, it will no longer be just the training of guards or the protection of facilities at stake, but the massive delivery of C4 explosives to a regime that Washington designates as an enemy. And when these explosive flows cross the boundary of legality, when the cargo ships, planes, and forged documents conceal tons of explosives bound for Tripoli, Edwin's fate will tip over. The man of the shadows, the logistician of the Cold War, the intermediary of Task Force 157, will become the center of a judicial, political, moral storm.